With the presidency in crisis, Joe Biden waking up this morning facing new articles of impeachment from a group of Republicans. One of them, Brian Babin, who we had on the show yesterday. Why? Well, the disaster that is the U.S. border and the Afghanistan debacle. We are waiting to hear from White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki. She's expected to take the podium any minute now. Now, this all comes as President Biden's approval rating is plummeting, according to a new Gallup poll, a 6-point drop in just 1 month, down to 43%. It's even worse among independents. Meanwhile, the Biden administration continues to hold back the numbers when it comes to the amount of migrants still being processed down there in Del Rio, Texas. DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas faced another grilling on Capitol Hill, and he did not take kindly to the criticism.
Let me share something with you quite clearly. I work 18 hours a day. Okay, so when I returned from yesterday's hearing, I actually focused on mission. We will get that data both to the senator who posed it yesterday and to you, Congressman, today.
All right, so that question again about how many people have they been processing down there? We still don't have any answers. We're continuing to try to get those. Let's welcome in now someone who else I know wants to get that number as well. Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn joining us now. Senator, great to have you with us.
Good to be with you. Thank you.
And I know Senator Ron Johnson's coming up here later on the network with Eric Bolling later today. As far as I understand, he hasn't got an answer either. None of you guys have gotten answers on this. It should be an easy answer to this question, right?
It should be an easy answer, and we are looking at those that are coming across the southern border. And I have to tell you, John, it makes you wonder if they're giving us accurate data when they say, well, we had 208,000 in July, we had less than that in August, we have so many gotaways. Are they giving us accurate data or not?
Right.
And again, with the Afghan refugees, those that are being vetted, looking at the numbers that are there, we are hearing that only 3% of our SIV holders were able to get on those planes that were leaving Afghanistan. 3%.
Yeah.
And they are the ones who were to be given. American citizens and SIV holders were the ones who were to be allowed on the planes.
Senator, I want to talk more about the Afghan refugee resettlement situation in a second, but let's stay on the border here real quickly too, because this goes directly to the way Democrats, I think, are trying to distract from the real issue, and that is the wide open border. We see it on the screen right here, but they are making a big deal out of this. The pictures and the video that we saw of the Border Patrol agents doing everything they could to try and stem the flow of migrants here. We heard from Maxine Waters. I want to play that clip again one more time. Here's what she said about those Border Patrol agents.
What the hell are we doing here? What we witnessed takes us back hundreds of years. What we witnessed was worse than what we witnessed in slavery.
It's not. I mean, we both know that. This is not slavery. These people are coming here voluntarily. Obviously, kind of one of the fundamental differences between hundreds of years ago and what we're seeing right now. But, you know, we expect this from Maxine Waters. The unfortunate thing is we're hearing that these Border Patrol agents have actually been relieved from their duties. They're now on desk duty. Is that okay with you?
What we would like to hear people talk about is the way the cartels are basically practicing modern day slavery. They go into communities. We have people from 150 different countries that have come over. They have to pay the cartel a fee. They have a wristband that is put on them. They have to work out their fee once they come here. And the women and the girls, the sex trafficking, the human trafficking, the gangs, these are issues that we have been raising. Where are people when it comes to defending these women and girls who are being forced into sex trafficking? And these are issues of tremendous concern. The treatment of these migrants as they make this journey, likewise, the treatment of these migrants once they are in U.S. custody. And we have had a couple of situations with migrants that were flown to Tennessee, and then they were held in a facility, and then they were sexually assaulted while they were in that facility placed there by the U.S. federal government.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, too. I mean, we're looking at this overpass again. We hear reports that DHS is trying to find a contractor to maybe run a detention facility at Gitmo. This is just not good. And, obviously, the Biden administration has a major crisis on their hands if they don't want to admit it. And
That's
also,
right. It's a human rights crisis, and no one should ever be mistreated.
No.
It is a national security crisis. It is a health care crisis. You hear about the COVID, the measles, the disease, the concern of the Border Patrol families and for the individuals that are coming.
They're in this stuff every day, and they're bringing that home to their families. And, obviously a lot of concerns there. Now, you talked earlier about the situation with the Afghan refugees. We mentioned this. 2 Afghan refugees had been indicted at Fort McCoy in Wisconsin, one for engaging in sex acts with a minor, the other for assaulting and strangling his wife, obviously raising concerns about the vetting that's going on. This was Jen Psaki back on September 1st, assuring all of us that, in fact, they were vetting these Afghan refugees. Here she is.
I can absolutely assure you that no one is coming into the United States of America who has not been through a thorough screening and background check process.
Again, the problem is you can't screen and do a background check on people when they're coming from a foreign country, and they might not have arrest records over there. They don't have the same kind of record keeping we have here, and there are things falling through the cracks. She can't guarantee that everyone is being vetted, can she?
No, she cannot. I mean, it is not call 1-800-Taliban and find out who someone is. There are not appropriate records. The SIV applicant process has taken months and years for many of these individuals. And now to hear that some of these refugees have come, they've been placed, and that rape of a minor child, the abuse of a spouse, this is why the vetting is important. And John, right. I tried to get over to a vetting center, one of these centers in Germany or Italy last week, and they said, well, you can't go because there's a measles outbreak. And we're still trying to set foot in this center so we can see firsthand exactly what it is that they are doing. This issue in Wisconsin with these 2 men that now have the sexual assault allegations, this is why it is so important that we see exactly what it is that they are doing.
We need to know. We need to know. And lastly, Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff Mark Milley will testify next week before the Senate. Yeah. What do we need to make sure we get answered from these guys?
We had a very good hearing last week with General Miller, Scott Miller, and we know from that hearing that there was advice from commanders on the ground that the troop level needed to stay at 2,500 and that Bagram needed to stay open. So somewhere between the commanders on the ground and then also to General Milley and Secretary Austin, there, I guess, was a change of opinion. We need to know where that breakdown occurred. We also need to know if either of these individuals ever looked at the president and said, Mr. President, with all due respect, that what we are hearing from the intel sources, from the commanders on the ground, is that we need to keep these levels where they are. But no, Joe Biden wanted to have that victory lap on September 11th. And he pulled the numbers down. We have 13 of our military members who have lost their lives. We gave over Bagram, and they opened the prison and let out 5,000
terrorists. And we can't forget that there are still Americans still in Afghanistan
that are behind enemy lines. That's right.
That's also something we can't forget about. Senator Marsha Blackburn from Tennessee, thank you so much. Great to see you.
Good to be with you. Thank you.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, where real news for real people.